I think President Trump very much wants this war to end. I think he's trying to show that there's a deal out there and putting pressure on Hamas to agree to the deal. It also puts pressure on Israel in a way because they don't want to look like they're the ones who are going against the president. So on some level, it kind of raises expectations for all the parties to come to the table and agree to something.
I think we'll have a deal next week. That's what I think.
Trump said in his post that Netanyahu and Israel have agreed to a 60-day ceasefire. It sounds like what Trump is talking about is something called the Witkoff proposal, which has actually been accepted by Israel for a very long time. The 60-day ceasefire where about 10 hostages would be freed over the course of that time. But it doesn't include a commitment to end the war from the get-go. And that is something that Hamas has always insisted on. So there have been multiple ceasefires now where there's been a break in fighting, there have been hostages released, but it hasn't led to the end of the war. And Hamas's position is whatever comes next needs to lead to the end of the war. Israel, as far as we can understand it from what Trump said, is still insisting to only a temporary ceasefire, not a complete end to the war.
We want to get our hostages back. We want to get the hostages back.
The million-dollar question is whether this will hold and yield to something more permanent. The last time there was a ceasefire like this, a temporary ceasefire, Israel had actually committed in the second stage of that ceasefire to beginning to talk about a formal end to the war, and they never did that. And so I think that's probably part of why Hamas is unwilling to engage in another temporary ceasefire without some sort of real commitment by Israel that this will lead to the end of the war. Israel has not been willing to talk about the end of the war until Hamas surrenders, gives up their weapons, and is willing to leave the Gaza Strip. And that is the one thing that Hamas will not do. I would note that there are still no negotiations going on between Hamas and Israel. There has been a push since the Iran war wrapped up, which we've reported, to get a Gaza deal going. The plan is for the different mediators to come to Cairo and hash this thing out. That still has not happened. So it's not clear to me that we're actually any closer than we were, but I do think that by President Trump saying this publicly, he raises the pressure on all sides, especially ahead of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu coming to the White House next week.